Welcome to Education Matters, presented by the Public School Forum of North Carolina. I'm your host, Tom Williams. North Carolina's public schools have been closed for 2 weeks due to the outbreak of the coronavirus. And just this week, Governor Cooper announced that the schools will be closed at least through May 15th. During these unprecedented times of the coronavirus, we wanted to spend more time hearing from schools, school districts, and policymakers about what's being done to address the unique needs of our students across the state. We at Education Matters are also practicing social distancing and are coming to you from our new format where all of our interviews are being conducted virtually. Before we tackle our main topics, we want to share with you some of the amazing things that are taking place across the state. Take a look. I'd like to welcome David Stegall, Deputy State Superintendent of Public Instruction for Innovation at the Department of Public Instruction. And thank you for joining us, Dr. Stegall. And we know that you've added a new hat in the last couple of weeks. You're now the co-chair of the Governor's Education and Nutrition Working Group, and we appreciate your leadership role in that as well. So welcome.
Thanks, sir. Good. Glad to be here.
If you will, kind of give us an update. A week ago, we were going to be coming back to school on March 30th, and now with the executive order, the governor has extended that to May 15th. Just give us an update of where we are with COVID-19.
As you might imagine, things have been, we're learning on the fly, everyone, not just in education, but our whole state. I've equated this to imagine taking all the hospitals and doctors' offices and sending the patients home, and then still trying to provide for their needs and their varied needs, the specific needs they have remotely. That's what it feels like in some ways in education. We sent 1.6 million students home that we normally support face-to-face, and now we're trying to care for them from afar.
Can you share a little bit, knowing that the teachers are at the heart of learning and the relationships with our students, what DPI and the state are doing to try to best support those 95,000 teachers in these uncharted territories?
Teachers are learning how to vary their approach to instruction and to understand that this is a new opportunity for all of us. We're having students have social and emotional needs in sport, and so our teachers, we're trying to provide them resources around remote learning. I mentioned the child nutrition services. We have teachers serving lunches, delivering lunches on buses, and I do want to give a quick shout out to our child nutrition staff, who are those people are on the front line right now. We're delivering over 800,000 meals a day across the state. We have teachers standing alongside them. The teachers, as you probably can imagine, are sharing resources. We partner with some external agencies to provide support to these teachers and school district leaders as they try to reach students. Some of those things are reaching out with UNC TV on programming offerings. We've had cell service companies offer hotspots to put internet service for teachers and students in the home. We've had internet service providers reach out and provide free access to communities that may not have had it in the past. You may have heard recently the governor, and with support from the state superintendent and the department, allocated $50 million to help teachers around some of these key areas with remote learning, with devices, platforms, support. And it also goes towards other parts of the pandemic with cleaning, make sure our buildings are safe when the students return. But here at the department, one of our key focuses has been teaching, providing support for teachers to teach online. It's a new way of doing it, and not every teacher is able to do it online. We have some students that are developing packets and resources that can be delivered or be used remotely. They're sharing tons and tons of ideas across districts and communities. It's warmed my heart to see how much people have become innovative and sharing resources. There is no district lines, there's no community lines right now. There's all of North Carolina, and our teachers are on the front line of that.
If you were to identify 2 or 3 of the biggest barriers beyond the bandwidth that you think teachers are trying to address and you're trying to help, what would be the two or three biggest barriers?
I think one is social and emotional learning. We know going through this is a major life change for staff, for parents and community members, but for our students in particular. We know that they have strong emotional and social welfare needs, and teachers, they care deeply about students, and they're trying to continue to support that. We're trying to balance that primary core instruction and supplemental instruction along with social and emotional needs, and making sure we keep that at the front of all we do. And then we talked about equity. Not every district, not every community, not every home has the same equitable access, both internet providers, devices, and not even just that. Some of our students are caregivers for younger children when they're home. So being cognizant of, we have to adjust our support based on where the students are, their needs, their emotional needs, their physical needs, and be adaptive as those needs change.
We know in many counties, the school system is the largest employer, and the impact that has on a local community. And then after that, maybe any final thoughts for us?
Yeah, we understand that some of our hourly employees are out of work with some of with the change we have now, and we are seeing districts reassign duties to try to maintain that level of work. We want to continue supporting those that aren't salaried, and so we've asked for support from the General Assembly and from the governor to help support that. And we do understand. You mentioned that this is a changing field, and that we're all in this together. Education is a mission field, and I want everyone out there watching know that teachers care for students immensely. They know they have needs now, and we all, as this ends, as we come back to normalcy at some point in time, it'll take our entire community, our faith-based, our parents, all of us working together to pull back together. We're all in this together, and we'll continue to get better as we adjust to these changing times.
We are immensely grateful to you for being on the show today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
After a brief commercial break, we'll be back to continue our discussion with Mariah Morris, the 2019 Boroughs Welcome Fund Teacher of the Year.
Education Matters is brought to you each week in part by Town Bank, serving others, enriching lives.
Welcome back to Education Matters, and joining us now is Miss Mariah Morris, our 2019 Boroughs Welcome Fund Teacher of the Year. Miss Morris, we're delighted to have you on Education Matters today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we know that these are unprecedented times, so please take some time to talk about the amazing work our North Carolina teachers have been doing over the past 2 weeks since our schools have been closed for our students.
Our North Carolina teachers have been absolutely the backbone of this transition into moving towards digital learning. When we received news from Governor Cooper that our schools were shutting down for 2 weeks, teachers did not even hesitate. They jumped in, they collaborated, they worked together to figure out how to best meet the needs of their students. I can say that I have never been so proud to be part of such an amazing group as I am right now, because North Carolina teachers have really stepped up with positivity, with innovation, and with a can-do attitude.
Teachers and students and parents and school administrators also rely every day on incredible support staff that make our schools happen every day for kids. It's not any different now that we're out of school. How do you see these valuable support staff members making a difference behind the scenes?
Our support staff are crucial to the success of the next couple months as we transition into full-on remote learning. Our cafeteria workers are still making and presenting meals so that they can be delivered by school bus drivers and by other school personnel. Our school bus drivers are not only delivering meals, but they're delivering hotspots, they're delivering materials. Our instructional assistants are able to help with figuring out how to solve this equity piece with the broadband access, so that when a teacher is focused on digital learning and creating these remote learning opportunities, the instructional staff can create packets and paper copies and help get those into the hands of the students.
So I've been on Facebook, of course, and seen some of the online innovative digital age resources the North Carolina Teachers of the Year Network have created. Can you talk to us a little bit about Toy Time?
Sure, Toy Time. We have had so much fun with Toy Time. So Toy Time is the idea that we are teaching on your time. And when we heard that Governor Cooper was going to close schools for 2 weeks due to COVID-19, we thought, okay, what can we do to really make an impact over the next 2 weeks? And I remember sitting in my living room and saying to my husband, what about some YouTube videos or something? And I said, come up with a good name. And he said, Toy Time. And from there, I took it to my team and it has just blossomed. The 2019 and 2020 Burroughs Welcome Fund North Carolina Teacher of the Year teams have come together. And so we are united in this effort. And this is really a team mission of ours. We are hoping to spread positivity. We're hoping to spread learning. But the most important thing that we're trying to do with Toy Time is to connect with students so that they see a friendly face who is a teacher with teacher energy on the screen. We have amazing resources. We have amazing websites. And a lot of people have opened up their digital resources for free during this time. But that's not the same as being with a teacher. And we can't physically be with our students, but if we can deliver that teacher energy on the screen where we are doing some of the same practices that they know from school, we think that that social emotional connection will happen through Toy Time.
We've got about a minute and a half left, Ms. Morris. There's two things I'd like you to briefly touch on. Number one, how are we approaching the kids who don't have broadband access or wireless access? And then to your final thought about, from your teacher vantage point, what are the priorities for our teachers between now and May 15th, 7 weeks from now? Thank you.
Real quick on broadband access, this is a huge issue that we are trying to navigate right now. I'm very excited to say that UNC-TV and North Carolina Department of Public Instruction are partnering on a project that will begin on March 30th, so this upcoming Monday, where we are rolling out free TV programming through UNC-TV that meets educational needs of grades 4 through 12. To move into the next couple months, I think we have to make sure that we are putting the social and emotional needs of our students and our profession first. The amount of learning that happens is to be determined, but what we do know we can control is we can control our attitudes. We can control whether we are positive or not. We can control how we come together as a profession and lead and show that we are innovative, strong leaders throughout this transition.
Thank you so much for being with us today. And more importantly, thank you for what you do personally, as well as your network of Burroughs Welcome Fund Teachers of the Year from both 19 and now 2020. We're grateful for your leadership.
Thank you
So
so
after a
much.
brief commercial break, we'll be right back, and we're going to be meeting with Dr. Kathryn Edmonds, Superintendent of the Elizabeth City Pasquotank Public Schools. Well, it's my pleasure to welcome and introduce Dr. Kathryn Edmonds, Superintendent of the Elizabeth City Pasquotank Public School System. Thank you so much, Dr. Edmonds, for joining us.
Thank you so much for the invitation and having the opportunity to share what we're doing in Elizabeth City Pasquotank Public Schools.
Talk to us a little bit about what you've seen over the last 2 weeks that's been encouraging. What are some of the challenges that you faced, and how have you tried to accentuate the positive, but also mitigate some of the challenges?
Yeah, so over the past week, we've seen where our community has really come together and pulled together during this unprecedented time. We're seeing some amazing teaching that is happening online through the use of technology. We are seeing that our community are ensuring that our students are fed, and we're just all pulling together. Some of the things that are concerning to me is that we're seeing families that are losing jobs. We have businesses that are starting to have limited hours, and that puts additional stress on the families. And so that's been something that's been very concerning as we look at having our schooling done virtually and our parents being in the home with the students and that stress level.
Right. But talk a little bit about some of the current issues that you're talking about relative to student assessment, to testing, promotion, those kind of issues.
Yeah, we're waiting for guidance from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, because we're all thinking through what does that look like to have flipped a school district and gone from the traditional way of educating students to using technology at this time of the year. And we know that the federal testing has been waived, but we have not yet seen that in the local testing for North Carolina. So those are some of the questions that we have as superintendents and school districts as what's our guidance in moving forward with that?
So as a local superintendent there in Elizabeth City, Pasquotank, but also as a superintendent for representing other superintendents, what's the message of what you want your senior class to see and hear from you as a superintendent?
That I know that this is a very important time for them in their schooling career. They've waited so long for the opportunity to walk across the stage and have their families there with them. And they've been waiting for the senior activities that are just the trademark of a senior year. I would say to them, don't use this as a time to say, my senior year was changed because we were out of school, but be innovative in the thinking about how can you mark this as a time to say, you know what, we were challenged, we were met with this challenge of being out of school, but we were innovative in our thinking about how that can look. And so some of the things that we're looking at as a district is, if we are not back, which we are all crossing our fingers because we definitely want them to have that opportunity, is that we're going to give you that opportunity, whether it's later in the summer or if it has to be virtual, but we are looking for our students to help us think that piece through as we as superintendents are thinking it through, but we know this matters for them. And so we are definitely here to support them, and we want to think out of the box about what this could look like for them.
What are some of the things you're thinking about, lessons learned, as well as looking forward to the opportunities that this creates for you as a local school superintendent and community?
Yeah, so I definitely see that some of the lessons learned is how we use technology and how we educate students. Like I said, it doesn't take place of the social interaction, but some of the things that we can do differently in our classrooms when this is all over. Some of the innovative ways we've approached personalized learning for students. We are actually in the true sense of personalized education for students now, because we're looking at each individual student's needs and addressing that through the platforms, through our virtual platform. So I think that is definitely something that we would look at differently. And then how do we bring our community together? How do we hold district-wide staff meetings? We've been doing those virtually. This is the first time we've ever done that, to have almost 1,000 employees online through a webinar and taking questions at the same time. So that's something else that we'll look at differently. Our principals are holding virtual PLCs. That's an opportunity now that we don't have to keep our PLCs, our professional learning communities, our times when our teachers plan together, to one school. Now we can expand that to see, oh, well, how does that look to include schools, other schools in our district, or other schools across the state or in other states. So there are a lot of pieces that can be lessons learned that will come out of this that will make us better for it when it's all over.
Well, we have about 30 seconds left. So anything that you have as a final thought that will help move us all forward?
I would say keep in mind the equities or inequities that could potentially come into play, ensuring that students are fed and ensuring that our most vulnerable population of students, that their needs are met. We've implemented some interesting things like a park and learn, so that all of our students can have access to internet. But just think about those families and the stresses that they're going through, and be kind to each other as we're moving forward.
Kindness never hurts.
Absolutely.
Dr. Edmonds, thank you for being here. Thank you for what you and your entire team are doing in Elizabeth City, Pasquotank. And we really are privileged to have had you on here, and we'll look forward to staying in touch with you as we move forward.
Thank you so much.
After the break, this week's final word.
Last week, our state was at the end of the first week of an unprecedented 2-week mandatory closing of our K through 12 schools. Now, 1 week later, with Governor Cooper's most recent executive order, the extremely difficult and thoughtful decision was made to keep our schools closed through May 15th. His hope, like ours, is that by then the current threat and impact of COVID-19 will have been mitigated, and it will be safe for our students, teachers, and staff to return to their daily routine of learning and close out the year as it should, with our senior class of 2020 turning their tassels and marching into their post-secondary choices. Educators across the state recognize and embrace the unique role they must play in our state and local communities at a time of such consequential adversity and challenges. They have done this for decades, responding to natural disasters and social shifts in our culture that impact their primary stakeholders, our school-age children. Over the past 2 weeks, we have seen a switch from morning and afternoon car parent pickup lines and face-to-face instruction to Zoom, Skype, and Google Hangouts becoming common tools for our teachers and support staff to utilize their most creative mindsets in meeting the unique needs of our 1.5 million children from Murphy to Manteo. Like our teachers, our state and local leaders must continue to expand their creative mindset and continue to make hard and wise decisions based on the public good for this short-term crisis, as well as for the long road ahead of us in the recovery. As an example, earlier this week, the governor announced that the State Board of Education and the Department of Public Instruction has established a new $50 million flexible allotment to assist our public schools in addressing COVID-19 related expenses. The funds are not new funds, but are comprised of unused funds from this and past year's budgets, as well as the State Emergency Response and Disaster Relief Fund. At a time when our state is developing its required action plan to meet its constitutional obligation to provide every student a sound basic education as required by the 1997 Leandro lawsuit. As these new vital resources roll out, I encourage our leaders to target its allocation based on meeting, not adding to, the diverse inequities among our local schools and the children they serve in order to increase and level the quality of learning by all students, regardless of their zip code. Thank you for watching Education Matters. We look forward to seeing you again.